First of all, I wanted to just recognize the 10th anniversary of IIFL Wealth and IIFL Institutional Equities. Let's give them Nirmal Jain, Venkat, and the team a nice round of applause. Congratulations. Now, you guys, all of you are in the investment business, and in one form or the other. So you want to make a good return. Remember this little story that I came across of an old rich guy. And a young man was asking this old rich man, how did you make some money? How did you make your money, sir? So he said, you know, it was a depression. I bought an apple, so a very tough time, bottom of the depression. I bought an apple for 5 cents, polished it, sold it for 10 cents. Then I took the apple, sold it for 10 cents in the evening. Next day, took 2 apples for 5 cents, sold it again for 10 cents, and I made 40 cents. And I kept doing that for a month, and I had $1.37, $1.37. So the young boy said, that's how you built your empire, sir. He said, no, hell no, he said. Very soon after, my wife's father died and we got $2 million. I'm very happy to be here. I've been a great fan of IIFL for so many years, and I do want to congratulate Nirmal and Venkat for building such a lovely, lovely company. And it's a 10th anniversary, but of course Nirmal has begun and worked for more than 10 years prior to that. He founded a company. And they've got more, he was just telling me today, 12,000 people. Company begun from scratch, 12,000 people, good jobs, and that's India's future. As you have entrepreneurs build companies and create jobs. I just wanted to give you a few thoughts, and then I'm looking forward to a little discussion with Ramesh. We are very fortunate, Fairfax. We started in 1985, and we've got a nice track record. A company with 10 million in revenue, premiums, we're in the property casualty business, has grown to about 14 billion. And our capital has gone from 10 million to about 12 billion. And our investment portfolios have gone from about 25 million to about 40 billion. And our stock price has gone from 3.25 to 700, and all our per share numbers have compounded about 20%. And when I look at that, and I look back and I said, what is the reason for that? And I wanted to share some thoughts with you. The bottom line for us over all that time period was we were trying to build a good company. A company with a good culture. A culture of providing outstanding service, looking after the employees that provide the service, making a return for shareholders, and then reinvesting in the communities we do business. When you do that over a long time, business becomes a good thing. Business becomes something that is attractive. So when we began, the whole company was worth $2 million. In the last 4 or 5 years, we've been reinvesting in the communities $15 to $20 million. So when that happens, business is a wonderful enterprise. And I wanted to leave that thought with you, that India is going to do exceptionally well because it's business friendly again. India is open for business, and it's going to do very well. If I leave you with 2 thoughts on our own history, is the big plus was a culture of treating people well. We call it a fair and friendly culture, and it's based simply on the fact adopting the golden rule, which all religions have: treat your neighbor like you want to be treated yourself. treat your neighbor like you want to be treated yourself, whether it's a customer, whether it's an employee that you work with, or whether it's your shareholders or the community you deal with. Simple rule that's worked for us for a long period of time. We have this idea that you can do good by doing well. And when I look at India, I see unlimited opportunity for doing good by doing well. Just a couple of more comments on India. I left India when I was 22 years old, and I've been in Canada now for 45 years. But I say to my Canadian friends, my values were all developed here in India. My father was a teacher, my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and everything that I learned was, of course, at home. But the opportunity I had in those days, 72, was in Canada. Unlimited opportunity, Canada, and of course the United States. But that was then. And today, though, my thought is the opportunity is right here in India. And with Mr. Modi getting elected in 2014, we thought the game had turned, that India's opportunity set was going to be dramatic. Because here you had a gentleman, a man who had a terrific track record in a big state, Gujarat, 65 million people, twice Canada's population, who had a 10% economic growth for 13 years, elected 3 times. So a person with a track record, exceptional track record, who was, and very humble beginnings, terrific track record, was coming to take over the country with a majority. And so we just felt it was the right time to invest, and we created a new company called Fairfax India, which we control, and we raised money. We put a third of it, so a third of it was our money, and the rest was institutional investors that we brought over. And we had a very simple pitch for the institutional investors. We said Canada had 35 million people. Economy 3 years ago was about 2 trillion. India has 1.2 billion people, and the economy is the same size, 2 trillion. How can that be? One country had a business-unfriendly policies for 67 years, and the other had business-friendly policies. But that was changing, and changing dramatically. But India is a big economy, big population. Takes a long time for things to change. It's not like you can change on a dime. And but I really do think we're well on our way, and with Ramesh, I'll be happy to expound a little more on that. So we have invested, as the little video said, $5 billion into India, and the employment that our companies have created in total is about 250,000 people, particularly from a company called Quest. But what I find interesting is the experience of this lovely entrepreneurial group of IIFL. So for the first 10 years, Nirmal is basically doing retail business. But here's a very educated guy, very smart, gets a terrific partner at Venkat, and gets into the wealth management business and gets smart enough to get into institutional equities trading, Nem Kumar, who you heard speak, and moves the business into different areas. And they've had phenomenal growth. But he's a good example of what can happen. So they've got about 20 plus years of experience. The company went public, and the gentlemen, as you saw, they all look like they're in their 50s, late 40s, early 50s. So a huge runway ahead of them. And that's what we see. Good, smart, intelligent, hardworking people who have got a terrific track record and who want to build a company. That's why we have a very big position, and we expect to keep it for a long time. Our investment style is trying to identify companies like the one that's run by Nirmal and Venkat, and then put our money behind it, and then stay for the long term. You'll be tempted to sell, but when you grow at 30 and 40% a year, you can afford to take the long-term view. So India has got tremendous opportunity, and India will attract many of its people that have gone outside and done well, will bring them back here. You'll suddenly have entrepreneurs coming from all classes, from wealthy people, from educated people, but also from very poor people who have an opportunity at last, to start a company, to buy real estate, to get a loan from a company, from a bank, and or from an angel investor. So I'm really quite excited about India, and we have here Chandran Ratnaswamy, who's been with me for 25 years, looking after our Indian portfolios, and I want to recognize him, and I want to recognize Harsha Raghavan, who runs Fairbridge. Harsha is here too. Let's give them a nice round of applause. Chandran and Harsha. So you all want to do well, but perhaps there's a higher meaning in terms of when you do well. So I just wanted to mention to you, my dad had a little motto, and it said, work as hard as you can, as though it all depended on you. Second part of it was pray as hard as you can, as though it all depended on God. That was his motto, and it rubbed off on me. And for me, you know, while we're all going to be successful, all of you are going to do well, perhaps you'll remember this quote that is my favorite quote from the good book, the Bible, which says, "What profiteth the man if he gained the whole world but lost his soul?" So when you do well, keep that in mind. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions with Ramesh.